Fort Tinian. Adversaries. Olaf's army steals a march down the southern coast out of Castle Seraph. They go off-road as they approach the southern gateway to Tarathia, Fort Tinian. Striking out over the foothills around the fort, staying out of sight, hopefully, and undetected. Their Ulfsknar make contact with Terbjornsson's scouts, confirm that his army is in position, also undetected. The main concerns they have about taking Tinian without forewarning Nahash are twofold. Due to the fort's nature, resting on a bluff surrounded by rough terrain on both flanks, an encirclement from the south or north is impossible. So, if an enemy assaults from the south, even with overwhelming numbers, it is trivially easy for the Serpentes to send out a message on horseback. But Olaf's army will take them from the north, while Terbjornsson takes them from the south. So this issue is negated. The second issue is trickier. They learn from their Serpentes captives that Tinian has a beacon, a bonfire they can light as a warning to the rest of Tarathia. The danger is somewhat mitigated, as one of the main locations well suited to see the beacon is Castle Seraph. Nahash itself is too far away, but there are many farmsteads, outposts, small towns and the like between Tinian and Nahash, so they do not want to give the defenders a chance to light the beacon if possible. Unferth volunteers for this task. He selects 20 men, a mix of all three types of Bersarks, to accompany him into the first surprise attack. The Ulfsknar howl the plan and confirm Terbjornsson will send a strike team ahead as well. Both teams will assault shortly before dawn, much like the attack on Seraph, hopefully disabling the beacon and throwing the Serpentes into disarray just before the larger armies storm the walls. Cyril has some men gather kindling, soak it in oil, and tie them off into easily carried bundles. He laces each bundle with oleander. A few smoke clouds might catch attention, but hopefully less than the full blaze of the beacon atop its tower. And the oleander smoke will create a toxic cloud to distract, disable, or even kill the defenders. They approach the fort in the gloom of pre-dawn. The old Castelline road to Nahash cuts right through Fort Tinian. The fort itself is an impressive structure, an old costa that has been expanded on by the best architects the Serpentes can muster. Stone walls, several squat towers, with the beacon rising up along the north wall, closer to Tarathia. The keep rises up on a bluff with steep, rocky terrain to the east and west. The north gate is called the God's Gate, and it's a huge oak structure banded in dark, rust-flecked iron. The south gate is called the Dragon's Gate, and though Unferth can't see it from his approach, he's heard stories by now from the Castelline legionnaires. Hanging over the gate is an enormous, calcified skull. A dragon skull, they say. The most intact and fearsome evidence in support of the old myths. Unferth and his company of shadows approach the unsuspecting keep. They scale the walls, slaughter the sentries, and seize the beacon tower. They make contact with Terbjornsson's group, led by a champion of the Vartror, a monster of a Bersark called Asmundr, the Blood Drinker. Asmundr is a man that shares Unferth's philosophy, inadvertently or not. He is cruel and violent, with a lust for the frenzy of battle and a taste for human hearts. The gatehouses at the north and south gates appear heavily manned, so they lie low in the beacon tower, waiting for the battle to commence. Terbjornsson's army charges first. Alarms sound, Serpentes rouse from their barracks, and they rush to the walls above the Dragon's Gate. When they spot Olaf and the Lorinettes charging in as well, they begin calling to light the beacon. The first few Serpentes to rush the tower die before they fully realize what's happened. Unferth and his men light the oleander bundles and toss them into the courtyard. Chaos ensues, and Terbjornsson and his forces storm the south wall. In the confusion, Unferth leads a charge for the God's Gate guardhouse. His men seize the gate and get it open, allowing Olaf and Isidore Lachance to lead their forces right into the keep. Cyril's gut wound gives him a satisfactory excuse to stay in the back lines this time. By the time he arrives in Tinian, the keep has fallen. The Serpentes have been put to the sword, their army ransacks the supply houses of the fort, smash the church, and tear the dragon's skull down off the gate to bring with them as a trophy. In their search of Tinian, they find a hidden tunnel into the hill, because, of course there is, these fucking snake knights in their hidey holes and tunnels. Ulfsknar scout it and report that there are tracks in the snow on the far side, maybe 5 hours old. Bjornsson tells the Ulfsknar to pursue and slaughter any Serpentes that are trying to flee to Nahash. Whether the Ulfsknar succeed or not, a messenger on foot wouldn't arrive too far in advance of the army, so Bjornsson growls the command for his columns to move out. They make for Nahash, and his reavers are sent far and wide, with orders to burn down every farm and homestead between Tinian and the capital. Nahash, Steelshod. Alexander and Elena attend a new meeting of the council. They bring along Brother Khalid, the nominal commander of the Serpentes garrison. The council chambers are not lavish per se, but they are grand. The chairs are functional, well-made, but not overly cushioned. The circular table they sit at is beautifully polished, and a globe rises out of the center of it, a carved image of Torath curled around it. The far wall is a massive glass window overlooking the Amud Kahal, with the pillar itself so close you feel as if you could almost touch it, if you could open the window and lean out. The walls are carved with frescoes and sport rich tapestries showing classic Torathi mythology. The counselors dress well, but not excessively well. Everything is designed to direct the awe and wonderment of those visiting towards God, not towards the council themselves. The private meetings and negotiations pay off. The council unanimously agrees to hire Steelshod, given that Brother Khalid is, at Torthian's suggestion, heavily involving Steelshod in his own preparations. This functionally puts Alexander and his company in the heart of the city's defenses. He's already discussed some critical first steps with Varley, so he immediately requests that the council authorize the Serpentes to begin evacuating civilians from the outer circle. Without walls, Bjornsson will be able to set his reavers loose on this section of the city, slaughtering and raiding with impunity. The council agrees. He also requests that they begin directing the tradesmen towards defense work, forging arrowheads, cutting stone and lumber that can be used to reinforce barricades or gates, gathering oil for use as a defensive weapon, and begin conscripting able-bodied men from the city and any surrounding towns and farmsteads they can reach. This request is argued for some time, but they ultimately concede. It goes on like this for hours. But when Alexander, Khalid, and Elena step out of the council chambers, the defensive preparations have the full support of the council. Several days of defensive preparations follow, while Yoren is still out to Castle Seraph. The morale and tenor of the city changes as the people grow more fearful, and the sense of impending doom begins to grow. The countryside. Steelshod, Yoren and Serpentes. As they grow closer to Nahash, Enoch's men draw upon hidden reserves of strength. They've been on their last legs for hours, days even, but now they pick up speed, slogging through the snow and slush as fast as they can. They begin seeing small smoke trails rising on the southern horizon. Signals, maybe, but Yoren thinks they remind him of a common sight in Cadia last summer, the sight of a distant farmstead burning down after a Sephardic reaving. Finally, the pillar of Nahash comes into view, and then the city itself. No army is visible, thank God. The bedraggled Serpentes column filters into the city and collapses into the Serpentes keep. Agrippa and Serpentes chirurgeons treat the frostbitten and exhausted troops, but Yoren, Torthian, Brother Enoch, and a few of his closest men immediately confer with Alexander and Khalid to make their reports. Khalid happily concedes command of the garrison to Enoch, taking over just the logistical and field command of the infantry. Enoch is pleasantly surprised to find that the council is taking decisive action. Such things are rare, if not unheard of in his experience, and he's even happier to make Varley's acquaintance, as the aging strategist's reputation has preceded him. So far, he knows very little about Steelshod, but he has liked what he's seen, and he understands, perhaps, why Kshar suggested the city hire them. Alexander and Yoren like Enoch well enough. The man is gruff, old, and has no patience for foolishness or ceremony. He's direct, focused on solving the problems that lay ahead of them. He is attended by 2 personal bodyguards, Jacob and Gilead, both sworn to vows of silence. They're clearly no fools themselves, however, and occasionally make mute observations, gesturing to maps, hand signals, simple things, but Enoch reads a great deal into them. It's clear the 3 of them have a long working history. Word of Castle Seraph's fall inevitably begins disseminating among the populace, and Nahash's morale takes another hit. But with that fear also comes hope. Steelshod has brought the warning in time. Enoch and the bulk of Seraph's troops survived. Nahash's defenses are underway. They may be outnumbered, but they have a fighting chance. Thank you for tuning in to Steelshod, a series by Mostly Rights, narrated by Tailforge. You can find every chapter in text format, as well as character sheets, setting information, maps, and rule documents on the Steelshod tabletop system in the link below. If you'd like to support the channel, you can pop down to the description and use the Patreon link for recurring donations, the paypal.me link for one-time donations, the Teespring link for shirts with the incredibly cool background art by Nobody, or use the DriveThruRPG affiliate link the next time you're looking to try a new system. If you'd like to support the author, you can find Steelshod merch on the mostlyrights.com store, or donate to the Mostly Rights Patreon, which are both linked on reddit.com/r/mostlyrights down below.